make a statement, and then we'll just open it to questions. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, we're extremely excited to be back. This is my third time since I've been at Auburn. This bowl, first class bowl. They do a super job with everything. This time's been no different. Our practices have went well up to this point. We're playing a very good Minnesota team that won 10 games. Got a chance to watch them, on TV during our off week when they beat Penn State. PJ, I think, is one of the best coaches in all of college football. I've been a fan of his for a long time because he does it his way. And, his teams take on his personality. They play with great effort. They're very well coached. You can watch that, with 10 minutes of watching film, that they know exactly what to do. I think they're very well rounded. When I look at them defensively, they're one of the best units statistically in the country. Offensively, the same way, with 2,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard rusher. The quarterback's phenomenal, and their kicking game is very solid too. So we feel like we're playing one of the best teams in all of college football, and this is a bowl that, here in the state of Florida, which is very important to our recruiting in this area. We have quite a few of our players from this area, and so it's always good to be here. I know our fans and our players are very excited.
Good play.
Yeah, echoing that message, just want to thank Jim McVay and his whole staff here at the Outback Bowl for selecting the University of Minnesota to represent the Big Ten. It truly is an honor, especially being University of Minnesota's first time here in the Outback Bowl down here in Tampa. We're very honored to be selected, and I know our team is very appreciative of the opportunity that we have. Get to play Auburn, one of the most historical, traditional football programs in all the country. I've followed Coach Malzahn for a long time. He's one of those guys as a young coach you're looking up to of who you want to be like, one of the brightest offensive minds in all of college football. And it's fun to watch him, how he evolves, and we've got a chance to, probably shouldn't even tell him this, but we've watched a lot of the bowl games he's coached in, and what makes him really special is you can watch the tendencies you have during the season, but when Coach Malzahn has 3 weeks to prepare for you, 80% of what you basically just saw, it doesn't exist anymore, and it's something else, and it's even better, and that's what makes him really good. He's got tremendous football players, tremendous young people. We got a chance to be around his team yesterday at the Children's Hospital, which was really important for our players, and I know their players, to get together. But when you're playing one of the most historical football programs in the country and one of the best coach teams in the country, it's a tremendous challenge. And it's a challenge that I think both teams accept, right, in terms of looking forward to it and high competition. And that's why you come to the Outback Bowl. That's why you have a season like we did. I'm really proud of our players for accomplishing what they were able to accomplish. I know it's kind of astonishing to hear some of those numbers, but we are one of the most traditional football programs in all the country. We've had 18 Big Ten championships, 7 national championships. It just hasn't happened for over 50 years. But when you look at what we've done, it's close to 100 firsts or nevers, and then about 49 restorations, we call them. Maybe things that haven't happened since 1904 or 1956 or 1965. Those are really important as you're building a program, as you start to hit some of those milestones. And as the years goes on, you don't want the gap to be as big. But we're really, really proud of the progress we've made. Very honored to be here. Everything's first class. I know our kids are really excited. You didn't have to do much to excite them. They walked off the plane and were excited because they were able to breathe in warm air. So it was very easy to get them excited. But again, we're very honored to be here, very honored to represent the Big Ten. And I know I speak for our president, Joan Gable, and our athletic director, Mark Coyle, when I say thanks for selecting us. And we look forward to representing University of Minnesota in the Big Ten.
For both coaches, gentlemen, we don't have a chance to see you guys day in and day out. My perception is, Coach Fleck, you're a guy that goes at warp speed every day, all the time. Coach Malzahn, you're the type of guy I see as someone who at 3 in the morning, if a play comes to you, you're going to get up and write it down. So if I'm going to put this matchup in perspective, it's the Flash versus Professor Xavier. Is that pretty much a correct response?
I taught 6th grade, and they don't call your 6th grade teacher a professor for sure, so he'll get that one for sure. People have always asked, at least me, in terms of when you talk about yourself, are you always like this? And I don't know what they're talking about. It's like me asking you, have you always been like this? You're like what? It's the same thing. You just are who you are. One thing I appreciate of the people I've been able to surround myself with is they've allowed me to be me. And I think for Coach Malzahn, he's exactly who he is. And I think when you get real people that are able to coach the way that they truly believe in and who they are as people, I think it just turns out natural in terms of your culture, right, and your players. From the outside, it might not look that way, because you might not get it, might not understand it. And I said it before, if you're not in our program, not in our culture, I might seem a little different or odd, or you might not get it. And I tell people all the time, if you're not 17 to 22, you probably won't get it. And that's our demographic, and that's who we're focused on. Again, a lot of respect for Coach Malzahn and what he's been able to do, because he's one of the best offensive mind in college football, in the whole game of football, and that's well documented. And it's been a lot of fun to be able to dissect him as a coach and be able to break him down on film and be able to find things that he does. And there's always things you steal. I mean, coaches are thieves. We watch so much film that we're saying, hey, next year we'd like to do this. And we don't have an offensive coordinator right now, so I have a lot of power that way. We're going to make sure the next guy comes in, we're going to do this, and this. But it's a lot of fun.
Coach Fleck.
I don't know. I guess the question was, do I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Every now and then I do. Yeah.
I would say, Coach Fleck, this is kind of a homecoming. You were wide receivers coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is something that you took from that coaching job with the Bucs and carried it on to the NCAA?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, when you're a young coach and coming up, everybody uses that stigma against you in terms of, wow, you're really young or inexperienced, and how will you handle that? I remember when I first got here, I got a wonderful gift, and that was the $55 million man, Vincent Jackson. But I wasn't making that as a wide receiver coach. And I remember our head coach coming and saying, you got this now, don't screw it up, and that was it, right? And Vincent Jackson comes in, we're the same age. And here I am, first year wide receiver coach in the NFL, and here he is, a 2-time Pro Bowler already. But our relationship was really, really close from the start. And I just said, if you just listen to me, give me 3 weeks, and if you think I can change your life, let's do this. If you don't think I can change your life, you never have to listen to me again. And we're still close to this day. He's a wonderful person. You learn a lot when everybody is watching you in terms of, well, how will he handle this role? And then you just go back to be yourself. I wasn't any different there than I am as a head coach. You're just yourself. And sometimes that's for people, and sometimes people will never get that. But you learn a lot when you go up to that level and you're coaching professionals, and they're dissecting everything that you say. And very similar to student athletes as well. They're finding things that maybe you're 100% convinced on, and then there's some other things they're looking at. Well, let's see if he's real on this. And they're always looking for things. But it was a tremendous experience to be able to coach here. Tampa's been really, really good to me. Thank you.
Gus, I just wanted to know, in terms of Derek Brown, what do you think makes him special, both on the field and as a person?
Yeah, on the field, he's got a unique talent. We had Nick Fairley in 2010. We won the national championship. He was a dominant player, Outland Trophy and all that. But Derek is in that same atmosphere. I mean, he's just a big guy that can run. He has really good instincts. He's got experience too. This is his 4th year coming back. He's played some really big games, and so I think that's it. And then off the field, he's just a wonderful person. I mean, what you see is what you get. He truly cares about people. And we always ask our players, to be great examples for young people, and our players have great influence, and he's really bought into that from day one. And real proud of the awards he's winning, outside of football, which is many. And he's represented Auburn and his family extremely well, and he's going to be probably top 10 pick. I mean, he's a dominant player. He's one of the more dominant players, I think, to come through our league in a while.
Next.
Both coaches again, Coach Malzahn first. When you look at Minnesota on the film, who does they remind you of offensively and defensively? And Coach Fleck, same thing.
That's what you always that's why I always ask our coaches. They get to watching it a little bit quicker because we're doing recruiting and everything. Hey, who do they remind you of? And really, they're pretty unique from not, a little bit different from what we're used to seeing. But when you look at them defensively, what they do, they know their answers. They're really good. They play extremely hard. Offensively, they get the ball to their best players, and they figure out ways to get them in one-on-one situations. And always look at when they play a big game, and they played a huge game, and Penn State was there, and college game day, they played one of their best games. So they're not they're not scared away from the big moment. And so when you look at them, when I say I think they're one of the best teams, I truly believe that, because they're balanced. They're very good on defense. They're very good on offense. They take on PJ's personality, and like I said, I love his energy. You watch him on the sidelines when you're watching film, and everything is like their hair's on fire, and that's a really neat thing to watch from a coach's standpoint. But no, that's they don't really remind us of really anybody we played. They're kind of unique, and but they're very good.
Yeah, unique as well. I don't think anybody runs the football like they run the football, you know, and they're so creative, whether it's the counter read, whether they're pulling people left and right, they're coming from all angles, different formations. It's hard to be able to find, when you break them down, it's hard to be able to say, hey, they have tendencies out of this formation, because he does such a great job of changing the formations, changing the motions, changing personnel groupings, and always keeping you off balance that way. And like you said a little bit about us, I mean, they have players everywhere. I mean, every single one of them are players. And, you know, he's done a tremendous job recruiting. You know, programs, Coach will probably tell you this too. I mean, you got to have really good players and really good people to win games. You have to. And he's had a lot of success with multiple years of top 10 recruiting classes, and you can see it on the field. And then when you're looking at us, is how we're starting to build this of what we need to be able to do. I mean, we only have 5 4-star players on our team, but these guys play so hard, and they play for each other. And when you watch them, you can see he gets the same thing out of those 4 and 5-star players as well. And it's a breath of fresh air, because we got a chance to be around Derek Brown at the hospital yesterday with all of his teammates. And you talk about one of the most sincere, humble men you've ever met in your life. And I've got to go to a lot of banquets that Coach Malzahn's been at too. Same thing with Derek Brown. And he's the same person there that he was here. He's full of life, right? And it's kind of fun and it's refreshing when you have 2 teams that have those 2 values. But they're very, very talented. It's hard. We have a saying in our program: comparisons steal your joy, because whoever we're going to compare them to is really good. And I don't want to sit there and think our team, you know, it's like this team and this team. But we play a lot of teams that run the ball. They just don't run the ball like a Coach Malzahn team, and it's very difficult to defend.
Coach Malzahn, you know, he was talking about how honest and open and endearing Derek Brown is. Yesterday he was talking about, obviously he wants to go on the right note here, and he said that the Peach Bowl against UCF, he says he thinks the entire team was lackadaisical, and it really affected things, and that was kind of changed the mindset moving forward with bowl games. Can you talk a little bit more about that and expounding what you've noticed with your team since then?
Yeah, I think there was a learning experience. You know, like I've said before, you know, that was a year that I think we knocked off 2 number 1s back to back, and we went to the SEC championship game a little banged up, and of course we were thinking big things, and we got beat there, and then we got a UCF team that's very, very talented, and we didn't play our best game, and that hurt. That hurt a lot of the guys, but it helped us, you know, last year. And last year I felt like in our bowl game we played our best all-around game, and so our approach that we had was different, and it should have been different. And so we tried to keep this same approach for this game. This is a business trip. We're playing one of the best teams in all of college football. This is a very important game for us, not just this year, a chance to win 10 games, you know, with the schedule that we had for our seniors, but to give you momentum for the future. We think we've got a really, really bright future, that we think we've got championships on the horizon. So this is a huge game for us, and we got the same approach that we had last year.
Gus, Coach Fleck keeps talking about being a team that's has all these firsts and all these, you know, they're on the rise, and the energy and, you know, the young team. But what's it like being the team that's got to face that team? You know, all that momentum they have.
Well, I mean, I think we know exactly what we're getting into. We know that we're playing a very good team. We know they're going to be extremely motivated, and so our guys get that. Our coaches get it. Our players get it. Like I said, it ought to be a really good game.
PJ, is this the toughest defense that you face all year long, in your opinion?
It's one of them. Yep. I think top to bottom, I think is probably the best, just in every area. You know, you look at the D line, and I mean, it's not just Derek Brown. It's not just him. I mean, they have players everywhere. Linebackers are really long, athletic, and run. They're really good tacklers. You know, one thing I've always loved about the SEC and watching SEC football is the tackling. There are a lot of sure tacklers, and it's a credit to Coach Malzahn and the way he's been able to run his team. And one thing I love about him, you know, as someone called him a professor, he's got all these plays, but his team is very, very, very fundamentally sound. And that's when you know a team's well coached. We all know plays, we all have schemes, we all have that, but when you talk about a well-coached team, that's when you talk about the fundamentals, details, technique, playing for each other, and they all do that. And their secondary is very talented, but they're really good tacklers, do a great job of disguising things. They can all fly around the ball, and that's what's fun about them is when you watch them, everybody's around the ball. When they get there, you stop the film at the end, and there's 9, 10 guys around that ball, and I think that's why they have the success they've had.
Gus, Coach Fleck had mentioned that you get some time off, the tendencies kind of go away, maybe 8% or so or whatever. One, is that true? Secondly, does Chad Morris being out of that mix give you a fresh sounding board? Is going, hey, I noticed all this stuff after reviewing tape, and maybe we shouldn't do this, or should do this, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're in a bowl game, you got a chance. I mean, during the season, you always check your tendencies from week to week, but you got a little bit more time, and that's just what coaches do. And of course, Chad being here, you know, we're from the same family, and so he understands kind of what we're doing. When we were at home, he was just getting a feel for our players. Now we're here, you know, he has more influence on what we're going to do. And like I said, he'll help me and assist me during the game. So, but yeah, to answer your question, he will have influence, you know, on the game.
For both coaches, again, Coach, you said it was a business trip. How hard is it to get that fine line between a business trip and a reward for a great season?
Yeah, you know, for us, it's really not that hard. And it's kind of the question that Brandon asked, you know, 2 years ago. We got a lot of seniors that, you know, we had a really neat run, and we were close. Thought we were on the way to a championship, and we got beaten in the SEC championship game, and then we got stung, you know, a loss to Central Florida. But at the time, you know, I think Central Florida probably was one of the best teams in all of college football. At the time, you kind of, maybe everybody didn't know that, but we didn't play our best. And so anytime you have experience, and your players specifically have experience, and they went through that hurt, it doesn't take a lot to get them motivated. In last year's bowl, they were very motivated. And then this year, you know, we have a bunch of seniors. Some of them, you know, could have left early for the NFL, like you see around the country. Our guys decided to stay. So I think the motivation factor, I mean, we can have fun back home, you know, but our guys are here to win a football game. And I know Minnesota's the same way. I mean, you know, so a reward, you know, for the season, to me, is winning a bowl game. I mean, that's the reward. You know, you can have fun back home.
Coach Fleck, same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything he says, right? I mean, certainly we're here to win a football game. You know, we talked about that in our team meeting today. The Outback Bowl does such a great job of providing all these elite experiences. And like I said, it didn't take much for us to enjoy it when we walked off the plane. So, but other than that, I mean, you're here to play a game. There's a reason that you're here. This isn't just a team trip, right? You're here to win a football game. You're here to prepare. And at the end of the year, you want to be playing your best football. That's what every team strives to become, the best team they can be, the best version of themselves at the end of the year. So you have both teams that have that same philosophy, you know, in their last game of the year. And again, whoever plays better is obviously going to win, but it's the ability to play your best in your last game, not only just for your seniors, but for the development of your program as you continue to move into the future.
Yeah, Joe?
BJ, do you have a general philosophy for draft eligible guys who indicate a desire to skip the bowl season, or is it truly case by case?
You know, there's the philosophy we have is we do everything we possibly can with the National Football League to submit all the proper paperwork, right? And then the NFL will come back and say you're a first or second rounder, or go back to school. Now, we never tell our players what to do. Every case is an individual, case by case basis, but we'll support them in whatever they want to be able to do. Kamal Martin's not playing in this game, but Kamal Martin has to have surgery, and he was a completely different case than everybody else. But every other one of our seniors is playing in the game, and draft eligible players. And I think that's just like Coach Malzahn. I think that's a credit to the type of culture and program you have, and the connectivity you have as a team as well. But there's advantages on both sides of it, and that's why it's really a player and a family decision. All we're here to do is give them the education of, on both sides, what we've seen from the past, former players, and make sure our players don't make a decision when they're being told one thing from an outside source, when realistically here's what the pros are saying, here's where the professionals are saying. And when you have I've played in the league and I've coached in the league, and you have a lot of friends in the league, so that helps as well to get other opinions. But we'll support him. It's really at that point, you know, a player decision, family decision. But I'm just thankful that our guys continue to believe in our team. And, you know, it's the same with Coach Malzahn. I mean, you look at Derek Brown, he's a top 5 pick. And, you know, he came back, said he's playing, and you can just see that's that connectivity of that senior group. They have a lot of seniors. And, you know, but it's case by case for sure. And I've seen, you know, Corey Davis stay and went from maybe being a 3rd rounder to a top 5 pick overall by staying. I've seen guys leave, like Mohamed Sanu, that it was probably better for him to leave at that particular time. So everybody has their own ability, in terms of what their philosophy is and their family decision. But we'll support them any way that they want. We're just here to educate them the best we can.
Gus, you mentioned this being all business for you, but what's the most fun part of the week for you? Is it waking up at 4 a.m.? Is it not sleeping? Is it going to practice? Is it something mundane? What do you have fun with?
What do I have fun with? I really enjoy being on the field with our players. I'm a former high school football coach, and so the joy for me and the funnest part of the week is when we're on the field with the players, coaching them, helping them to be the best they can be. And for me, that's the funnest part of the week.
I know it's different.
Was that shock you? I said
No.
No. You knew the answer.
When the game ends, obviously it's the last time you'll see some of these players on the field together, but
Yeah.
when you're on practice, I'm sure that sets in a little bit in those final days and players.
There's no doubt.
changing.
Today at practice, our offensive line, we got 5 seniors, and we've got 6. And, we talked about, it's our last rodeo, man. Let's enjoy this. So it's a real special moment from year to year, as a coach. You just have, and it's the last time, and you always want to do your best as a coach to help those guys go out on a positive note. And so you have those moments, and they're usually on the practice field.
Carter Coughlin is obviously a guy's got a strong family legacy at the school, but I'm curious now that it's his last game, what do you think his personal legacy is gonna be with this team?
Well, I think, he's just going to be a legacy player, in terms of, hopefully he has children and has a son, and we offer him, and he comes and plays at the University of Minnesota. But I think for him, it's been the ability to overcome adversity and continue to be himself. He's got a long legacy and a long line of his family that played at the University of Minnesota or had a big impact at the University of Minnesota, whether it's football or whether it's administration. And he's done a great job of echoing that legacy and providing another level to it. And one thing about their entire family, they just continue to always raise the bar. And Carter's raised the bar everything he's done here, especially in his leadership role. Because those seniors have been through a lot. We don't have many of them, but they've been through a lot. And we've talked about that at length back home. We've been through a lot, and they've been through a lot. But to have them overcome what they've overcome and have Carter be the leader of that whole class, especially when he picked Minnesota, when maybe it wasn't popular to do that. That's a feather in his cap, and that'll always be his legacy in terms of his name, but what it means to be a Coughlin, and he's taken that to a completely different level.
BJ, I wanted to ask about the update on the OC search. I know you said you wanted to move aggressively.
We're playing Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, I'm curious. I like
It's interesting because you're doing everything you can to interview some people while you're here, just on FaceTimes, phone interviews, and then you're obviously planning for a game, and you have all these activities you're supposed to do and have fun, and do all those other things. But you're doing everything you can to talk to some people right now. We're making progress in it. There's a lot of people who are really interested in the job, but my focus is really our players. It's this bowl game. Coach Malzahn and his staff make it hard enough. You don't need time away from it, but when they have a little bit of downtime and free time, Heather will tell you, it's not like we're out there having a ton of fun. We're interviewing people in the room on FaceTime and just getting to know some people. But most of the people that we've thought of the candidates we already know as people, so we're just really catching up, talking a little football, things like that. But we're still in the beginning stages of it, but it'll start picking up here towards the end of the week, and then once we get done with the bowl game.
Coach Fleck, first time since the 1960s you're in a major New Year's bowl game. What's it like in the Twin Cities right now?
Well, cold. I think it's an ice storm back home right now. You guys have ice storms?
I think it's snowed twice in Auburn in 10 years.
So it does, there is recruiting. It does snow in Auburn. No, the energy's really high. I mean, when you have the Vikings having a really good year and having success, and then the Gophers are having success, and we talk about one Minnesota back home, and when you're in a pro town at times, that I thought that was the best thing about it when I took the job. And some people say, well, they just want a college town, and I love the whole pro town. I love going to NFL games, NBA games, Major League Baseball games, taking my kids, taking our team to those things, creating experience, moments, and memories. But I think what we're doing is we're restoring, the tradition of old. And I think that's what's really important to never forget here. Row the boat is our culture, right? Sky Yuma is our tradition. And what we're doing is restoring all of that. And I love it when some of the older generation will come up to me and they have tears in their eyes, and especially during that last game with the hope of doing what we almost did, right? Of just having those memories that they had 50 years ago come back and be that close to becoming reality. And at least the New Year's Day Bowl is a reality for them, right? I think that's what's fun when you're restoring a program. Your culture is different. Every coach has a different culture. So changing the culture is just natural when a new coach comes in. Our Row the Boat culture is just different than previous cultures. Not that it's better or worse, it's just different. But when you have a tradition of Sky Yuma, and you have tradition of old, of 18 Big Ten championships, 7 national championships, it's fun to be that bridge. And you can feel the excitement. You can feel people really excited about the future of Gopher football for sure.
Coach Fleck, I have to ask, as you know, there's a huge pirate ship in Raymond James Stadium, and with the Row the Boat motto, are you going to try to get the players out there and get some team photos and everything?
We have a team photo planned, yes. At some point, yes, we do.
Any special things planned for it?
For the photo, or
Yeah, for the photo.
Not really. I mean, the boat makes a good backdrop. I think that's what's pretty ironic about it. But that's pretty much it. So we'll see if we can get that done.
Good time for one more question. Anybody? Right back here in the back.
Coach, I wanted to see if we can find an update on Falele and Jake Paulson for the game.
Yeah, Jake Paulson will not play. He had surgery last week, but he's doing great here on the bowl trip. And then Daniel's really kind of a game time decision, making a lot of progress, which is good. So, our offensive line, we don't have a senior up front. We're still really young, and Daniel's been a big part of that. We're only 2.5 years removed, 3 years removed from having 4 linemen on our roster. And going through that first spring ball that you were there with, when Coach Callahan had to fill in at left tackle just to practice, right? Which was interesting enough. Him and his knee braces. So that we've come a long way up front in a short amount of time. Doing it with high school players, and you got to give a lot of credit to Brian Callahan and the players for how much they developed in a short amount of time.
Thank you, coaches.